topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Barry G. Fowler, EA, brings you Tax Talk for You right here on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. As an enrolled agent and a national leader in tax resolution, as well as trucker, bookkeeping, and tax planning with over 30 years of experience, Barry will break down taxes, bookkeeping, tax planning, and tax relief for individuals and businesses just like you. So let's have some Tax Talk for You with your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome. It's another great Monday morning to be here talking about taxes, bookkeeping, whatever you really want to bring up. This is kind of your show. I mean, this is Tax Talk for You. What do you need to know about your taxes? What do you need to know about planning? What are we doing these days? Because the IRS doesn't seem to be doing much. Government shutdown. Everybody asks who's working at the IRS during the shutdown. During the government shutdown, IRS does retain roughly, let's say 53% of its workforce, right around 40,000 people, to perform the accepted and exempt activities that the IRS has to do. Now, the majority of the workforce, including most customer service representatives and audit staff, is actually furloughed. Now, there are a bunch of employees working still at the IRS that were exempt. Those retained employees primarily focus on tasks for revenue collections. Imagine that. They still want their money. National security, preparing for the upcoming tax filing season. These are funded by non-annual appropriations. As such, the money from the Inflation Reduction Act. Key functions. Now, the staff that's working, they are working to process tax returns with payments, through processing returns. Requesting refunds is largely suspended. Imagine that. They're not going to send you your money, but they still want to process their money. So they're not going to give, but they will take. Isn't that a fun thing? You owe the IRS money. They're going to make sure that they're going to get it from you, but they owe you. Well, you should have filed by October 15th. You may have gotten the money by now. You file after that, it's probably delayed processing. So just remember, you may have a delay if you had a refund coming back. Testing and preparation for the upcoming tax filing season. Now, this is important. See, if they don't continue to work at fixing their forms and how information is accepted through electronic filing, then the 2026 filing season would be very much delayed. They're usually slow at this anyway, but they've got to get their computer systems up and going and ready so that they can start accepting returns as soon as possible and getting refunds out as soon as possible in 2026. So having somebody there that's going to be testing and preparing for this stuff helps facilitate both money coming into the IRS by people early filing and paying their taxes or paying their estimated taxes, and getting refunds back out for those that are normally getting refunds so that these returns can be processed properly, promptly, timely. So right now they have limited, and we mean limited, live telephone customer service assistance. It is still available, but most of the call sites and operations are actually closed. So that being said, if you need assistance, customer service from the IRS, you may be on hold a long time. You may have to actually call a couple different days to finally get through. We're lucky enough, we do have, as enrolled agents and those doing representation, have a priority service line. So we can get through and work with the revenue agents and stuff to facilitate moving clients' documents forward, or getting payment plans in place, or getting holds in place, or even non-collectible status, or even getting those offer and compromises filed. Now, they may not be processing them for a little while, but at least they're filed and they're in the queue to be worked. Criminal investigations, the CI division, those people are still working. They're still investigating the criminal activity, fraud, things like that on the tax returns, and they're going after people. So you got to be on the lookout. If you did something wrong, you have to worry about it. But if you're most normal taxpayers, criminal investigation unit should not be bothering you, unless you've really committed fraud. And you better get an attorney if you did commit fraud and you're under investigation. Information technology. It's the support for criminal critical systems out there. They're not going to shut their computer systems down. They're going to want to make sure that computer is still generating notices and getting them out to you that owe. So computer systems, electricity, all that stuff's still running, and they have to have people working in the information area to make sure those systems are still running properly. They have staff that ensure the security of government property and data systems. They're not just furloughing everybody. The property needs to still be secured, so your information is still secure. So they do have people working in that industry, in that part of the divisions, to ensure that the systems are they're running and they are secure. Now, the IRS does have some revenue agents in the small business and large business divisions remain, although overall enforcement activity is significantly reduced. Now, that just means there's not somebody going to sign off on levying your bank account today. Doesn't mean you're not getting the notices. It doesn't mean that the system isn't still putting things in place that there could eventually be levies. If you are running close to your statute of limitations, I would almost guarantee you one of these revenue agents is working to get collections or levies against you before that statute of limitations run out. So, you may be watching your statute of limitations, which the statute of limitations is 10 years from the date that your tax return was filed and accepted. Now, if they audited you and made changes, then it's 10 years from that. So, you filed your tax return 10 years ago, you're coming up on statute of limitations. Let's say you filed in November of 2015, you should be at statute of limitations this month. Well, you can bet your bottom dollar the IRS is now doing something to go after that money. So, watch your bank accounts. You just don't know what's going to happen out there. And I guarantee you, if you've gotten a notice already that there's an intent to levy, they can levy at any time, thereafter. So, those revenue agents, revenue officers are going to be coming after money. That's almost a given. And then you can't contact anybody because you're not going to get through the regular lines just to be able to talk to somebody at the IRS to do something. So you really need some help, and you really need to get after it. I do tell you to call us at Taxation Solutions. Go to taxationsolutions.net or call us at 888-930-1016. Again, 888-930-1016. And that's Taxation Solutions. Let us get a solution in place to your IRS problem. Now, you know all these people that are working, they're working in the critical portion of the IRS. And, there are a lot of different divisions and different parts of the IRS that are actually furrowed, that are not working. But the critical parts of the IRS are still in place. And, they're mainly looking at processing, again, those returns where you owe money. Again, collections, going after the money that is owed to the IRS. Now, the bad part is, if you owe the IRS money and they're coming after you today, they're trying to get the money from you that you owe. And then you have no way of calling in and getting that levy, lien, wage garnishment stopped, because you can't get through to anybody. Nobody's really working. It makes your life miserable. So if you are in that situation, again, get some help. Get somebody on your side that's going to step into your shoes and talk to and deal with the IRS itself. Now, after this quick break, we're going to talk about what employees and what divisions are actually furloughed, not working today at the IRS. And we'll do that right after this.
We have only scratched the surface of today's show. Please stand by, as Barry G. Fowler will be right back with Tax Talk for You. If you owe the IRS or are going through an IRS audit, don't go at it alone. Call Taxation Solutions Tax Relief at 888-930-1016. We are your solution for IRS debts, audits, back taxes, garnishments, liens, and levies. Whether you're an individual or business, you need a solution and a strong, aggressive tax resolution. Don't let the IRS walk all over you. Stop the IRS now. Call 888-930-1016 or go to taxationsolutions.net now for a free, no obligation consultation. Let's get back to Tax Talk for You with more Tax Talk. Once again, here's your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome back. We're talking about IRS and government shutdown. And, sometimes government being shut down is a great thing, in that, hey, if nobody's working at the IRS or limited people are working at the IRS, maybe they're going to be limited in collections. Doesn't usually happen, but maybe. Maybe you learn that you don't need to be dependent on the government, that you can be more self-sufficient. You're not there. It doesn't affect your everyday life. Now, for all the government employees, yes, it's a hard thing not getting a paycheck and everything else while people fight this out, or one group's fighting for more money for Obamacare that is broke and bad system, and fighting for money for illegals. The other group is trying to just pass a clean resolution, which is what should be happening and should go forward from there. And we shouldn't be in a government shutdown. We've seen arguments on both sides. I think the clean resolution is the right way to go. Keep the government open and battle it out in Congress the way it was supposed to be. Now, you should have had a budget done before the fiscal year started, which I think starts in October. And you should have had this done way back then. You shouldn't be waiting to the last minute to set the budget. You should be balancing your budget as well, living within your means. You and I can't live off credit cards forever. Government seems like it wants to. But hey, this is the situation we're in. So what employees for the IRS are actually furloughed? Well, it's about 46% of IRS staff is actually furloughed and placed in a non-pay, non-duty status. These actual employees cannot work until the shutdown ends. So, this includes people that issue refunds for most returns. So if you're waiting on a refund, you're probably still waiting. Non-automated collections and audit functions. This means examinations and appeals. So if you've got something that's actually going through an audit, they're furloughed right now. You still have to meet your deadlines that you had. So if you had a deadline and you had to provide information to the auditor, make sure you meet that deadline. Don't ignore it because they're not working. They're going to come back in and go, no, you didn't meet the deadline. And then you're in trouble. Same with if you have something on appeal and you had to appeal something by a certain date, make sure that appeal is in before the deadline, because they're still going to go back to that 60-day, 90-day deadline that you had to file your appeal. And if you missed it, then your appeal is not going to be there. You're not going to be able to go through the appeal. If you had documents that were due to the appeals officer by a certain period of time, get those in. Same thing if you've got an offer in compromise and they were asking for documents for an offer in compromise. Get it in, meet the deadline, regardless of whether that revenue officer, the officer investigating the offer, or the appeals agent is there working or not. You still need to meet all your deadlines. So, staff that respond to general taxpayer questions through the call sites and through correspondence. When we were talking about audit functions, so sometimes you have correspondence audits. Well, it's the same thing. Nobody's working behind the scenes on that. So nobody else is working to respond to taxpayer questions through the call centers and most correspondence. So there's nobody going to be answering those things. But again, if you've got a deadline, meet your deadlines. Don't assume that these guys are going to extend deadline just because they're not working. They don't have to. And by law, that you have the requirements to meet what they've set down to say, hey, you've got to provide these documents in a timely manner. So they've also got nobody working processing non-disaster relief transcripts. So, and income verification services. So, if you've got income that needs to be verified, or you've got disaster relief, you're going to get still some help. But if it's non-disaster relief for transcripts or income verification, guess what? You're SOL. That means mortgage companies that are sending in 8253s, requests for information to verify your income was reported to the IRS and they can verify it for your mortgage. They're not probably getting those processed. So you may have delays in your mortgage, new mortgage, if the IRS is not working in handling these functions. So, keep that in mind if you're going for a new mortgage and stuff. You may have a problem verifying income. Unfortunately, most mortgage companies don't believe tax returns you or I or anybody else gives them, or any statements from anybody else. they're looking for independent verification from the IRS by 8253s, which gets the transcripts for them from the IRS, and they're able to get that information. So now if you're lucky enough and they're set up to where they've got information access, they might be able to do it through the online IRS portals and stuff to be able to access the information via you giving permission through the system, as long as you've got to log in. Hey, Gene, you got a great statement there and question. They can hold us accountable, but we can't hold them accountable. Have you ever been able to hold the IRS or anybody in the government accountable for anything they do? Trump seems to be trying, but, again, no, you're not going to be able to hold them accountable for during this time of getting refunds out to you, getting information out to you. This part of the government shutdown. We tell our congressmen, hey, we want the government open. We want to be able to have the full functions of the government. But if you can't pass a continuing resolution, you can't have every function of the government going. So therefore, we have to deal with what we've got to deal with. Good, bad, or indifferent, depending on what everybody's opinion is. But in this case, this is the way the government is working today. Another division that's closed is Taxpayer Advocate Services. If you've requested help from Taxpayer Advocate by filing a Form 911, you're going to be delayed in getting the help from Taxpayer Advocate Services. And, that delay is because of government shutdown. There's nobody going to be working there. Now, the IRS, federal government, all this combined, you as a taxpayer are still required to meet all filing and payment deadlines. But you have to expect significant delays in services that require manual processing or interaction with furloughed staff. Of course, we can't work with furloughed staff. They're not working. So that doesn't make sense when you see a statement like that the IRS puts out. But again, you are still responsible to meet all filing and payment deadlines. So keep that in mind. Even during times of government shutdown, they still expect you to do your part in this. So, you've got to really think about what you're doing, making sure you're dotting your I's, crossing your T's, and following through. Hey, we got some questions about business and business startups. And we're going to be addressing that, after we take this break. Again, if you've got IRS problems, call Taxation Solutions. Go to taxationsolutions.net. You can call them at 888-930-1016. Again, 888-930-1016. And right after this break, we're going to answer Francis's question and talk about small businesses. And we'll do that right after this.
We have only scratched the surface of today's show. Please stand by, as Barry G. Fowler will be right back with Tax Talk for you. As an owner-operator, you already spend too much time away from your family. Trucker Tax Tools handles all your bookkeeping and taxes no matter what level trucker you are. Life on the road can be taxing, but that doesn't mean that your wallet or time with your family should suffer. Trucker Tax Tools makes your life run smoothly. Go to truckertaxtools.com for a free guide that will give you the tools to never worry about your taxes again. Call Trucker Tax Tools at 877-966-2477 or go to truckertaxtools.com now and let the experts keep you trucking. Let's get back to Tax Talk for You with more Tax Talk. Once again, here's your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome back. Hey, I love questions. We got some great questions about small businesses and opening businesses up. First one that I do want to answer is from Francis. Hey, Francis, thanks for the question. Is it better to have a small business or just run taxes on our tax form? So I'm going to fill in the blank here. Is it better to have a business that files taxes on its own tax form or just run them on our tax form? Now, everybody's business is different. So, I like to tell people a lot of times that I want to keep the trash off your personal tax return. And sometimes that is 100% worth it, depending on the business that you're running and how much business you're doing. I mean, if you're doing a small business that, maybe you only make $10, $20, $30,000 gross revenues, it probably doesn't matter whether you run it on your personal tax return on Schedule C, or if you were to run it as a S Corp or multi-member partnership that's out there. But if you've got, maybe husband and wife, you can either do Schedule C or you can do multi-member partnership. It gives you some options. Otherwise, you're a S Corp or you're a C Corp, which files on 1120. But a lot of times I tell people, hey, we want to get the trash off there, meaning there's too much detail. There's too many things that can get confusing when somebody runs a business, and it's better to keep things completely separate. It's also easier if you did go through an audit to have your business and personal completely separate. What we tell everybody, first and foremost, is making sure that you have a completely separate checking account for your business versus your personal, and don't commingle, meaning you're not running personal expenses through your business account and you're not running business expenses through your personal account. So, both ways it's got to work. But there are added complications. So it just depends on how much complications you want. If your net income isn't very high in your business, then it makes no difference, and actually better to be on Schedule C for you, because you're not having to spend the money to do payroll as a S Corp and an S Corp tax return. That adds quite a bit of expenses to your business and makes your bottom line much smaller. Now, that being said, if your income is very, very strong, and let's say we're going to just use some easy round numbers, you're going to net income $100,000. That net income on a Schedule C is completely subject to self-employment tax. So that self-employment tax is $15,300 some odd dollars. For Social Security and Medicare, you get to pay both sides. Now, as an S Corp, you have to have a reasonable salary as a business owner working in there. So depending on what your reasonable salary can be, and we're just going to say, let's say it could be $50,000. You would pay somebody else to do this job for you and work in your business for $50,000. Means you could have your salary at $50,000. That salary would be subject to payroll taxes, Social Security and Medicare, same as self-employment. And difference is the company pays half, you pay half, which you're the business owner. You're paying both halves anyway, regardless whether it's self-employment or it's through payroll. It's just listed differently, and it's on tax forms and on W-2. So you will pay basically that $7,650 in payroll taxes, a la self-employment taxes. But on the other side, the other $50,000, you're not going to pay self-employment taxes on. So basically it saves you $7,650. But you've got to subtract out of that the expense of having payroll and the expense of having another tax return done. And corporate returns are not the cheapest returns out there. So you got to factor all that in. So yes, at that point, there is more savings for you and it becomes worthwhile. Now you get somewhere in that borderline at 75,000 or under, 60,000 and under, that, hey, you're probably at a break even, meaning you're saving money, but the money you're saving is pretty much going to be going to get the taxes and payroll done. So is it really worth it at that point? Who you pay to get it done? That becomes debatable, how many hoops you want to jump through. So, those are the kind of things that, we definitely look at for you and, help make a decision on, whether this is possible or whether or not you should be filing on Schedule C. It's something you got to sit down and talk to your tax preparer with. Do some tax planning. What's going to work best for me? Do I want to file with my business on my return, or do I want to file it separately? That becomes the biggest question. So, you're now sitting here and deciding, what do I want to do in business? How do I want to look at my tax strategy behind my business? So some of these things you might need to look at. And when you're starting up your business, you kind of go through, 10 different steps to start a business. And I like what, the SBA does, and they put out there like their 10 steps out there, where you sit down and you first start out conducting, market research and writing a business plan, and then figuring out how you're going to fund your business. And then same time you're picking location. Now remember, people talk about location. It becomes very important depending on the type of business you are. Now, if you're a virtual business, it doesn't matter. But if you've got to have a storefront, a shop where people come into either to pick things up or work with you, your location is extremely important. And as Francis said, you're talking about taxes, but we also relate that to business structure. Are you going to be an LLC? Are you going to be an S Corp? Are you going to be an Inc? Are you going to be a C Corp? Or are you just going to be a sole proprietor, DBA? You have all those different options, but you've got to sit down and make a decision on those options. Greg asked about choosing your business name and how important is it? Well, choosing a business name can be extremely important. It's one of the 10 steps that the SBA puts out there, because sometimes it's not easy to pick the perfect name. You want one that reflects your brand, captures the spirit of your organization and what your organization does, and you got to make sure it's not being used as well. Hey, we got a couple other quick questions that came in from Casey. What if your business is only making about $35,000 and you can't afford to take a salary other than about $3,000 that year to do business costs? Well, Casey, when we look at that, you're only netting $35,000. Having it as a Schedule C, you're going to pay 15.3% on that for Social Security and Medicare. So your business is actually netting less than that out there. So, you're going to have roughly, that's $4,000, $5,000 in self-employment taxes. Part of that's deductible on your taxes as well. But your net income, you're not going to want to be an S Corp and take a salary, because you're just not going to have the cash flow to be able to do that, or the net income strong enough to be a reason to jump over to be an S corp. Now, if you could be a partner, you could have a partnership, and we can do different things with guaranteed payments and not have to be a salary, but basically guaranteed payments is your reasonable wages, but you can manipulate that to where you're at. James asks, what's the definition of a virtual business? Virtual business basically has no location. Maybe you're running it out of your home, your apartment. So you're basically doing everything remote. You're doing everything virtually. Maybe you're running a website, and that's your only location, and you sell products out of there, even though you're maintaining inventory at your house. But it's not someplace that everybody comes to pick up merchandise or get services from you. So your business is completely virtual, completely online. So you're not running a storefront. So there's no brick and mortar walls. We had a client a few years ago that came to us for taxes and tax help. And his question to his staff was, are you a brick and mortar place? And she was like, well, I think there's some brick, but I'm not really sure. So it was kind of a joke. Client's been a client of ours for over 20 plus years. Great client. So we always laugh about that. Using somebody that's virtual sometimes is hard, especially sometimes in the tax business, but it's become more of the norm. Yes, we have building here that we run our corporate headquarters out of. But some of the stuff we do is virtual in different locations, because we don't need a storefront in every location that we work in or all around the country. We just need a facility that we can deal with the IRS when it's needed. But as far as our clients go, we do everything via phone, via Zoom, via Ring, via text, via phone, whatever we're doing, it's mostly virtual, secure portals and everything else like that. So, we make business as simple and easy for people out there. But virtual can be part virtual, part brick and mortar. It just depends on the type of business that you're out there. Hey, we got to take a quick break. We're going to go through some more of the steps of starting a business that the SBA has. I'll even give you the SBA website when we come back right after this.
We have only scratched the surface of today's show. Please stand by, as Barry G. Fowler will be right back with Tax Talk for You. As an owner-operator, you already spend too much time away from your family. Stop spending time doing paperwork. Go to truckertaxtools.com, a solution built specifically for truckers. Truckertaxtools.com makes your life run smoothly. Let's get back to Tax Talk for You with more Tax Talk. Once again, here's your host, Barry G. Fowler.
Hey, welcome back. We talked about government shutdown and who's furloughed and what the IRS is doing now during the government shutdown. Hey, go find our podcast. We're on iHeart. We're on Spotify. We're on all the national programs for hosted podcasts. Look us up at Tax Talk for You, or you can just go to Tax Talk, the number 4, the letter U.com. Again, that's Tax Talk, the number 4, the letter U.com. And you can follow us over there, and you can see all of our podcasts that we've had, and you can listen to this one again and find out what's happening in the government, or you can even listen to the part of hey, starting your own business and the 10 steps the SBA is talking about. Now, you can find these 10 steps as well at sba.gov business guide. And it's got your 10 steps out there, such as conducting market research, writing your business plan, funding your business, picking your business location. Remember, location, location, location. Choose a business structure and your business name. And after you've done that, now you got to register your business. So you can register your business either with the Secretary of State's office or your local assumed name division of your county if you're just going to go with the DBA. And then once you register your business, you've decided, hey, I'm going to be an LLC, I'm going to be an Inc., I'm going to be S Corp, whatever it's going to be, partnership. You've got to then get your federal and state tax ID numbers. Now, good news is IRS may be shut down, but as far as their website still works, you should still be able to get your federal employer identification number by filing the SS4 online. Now, if you fill it out manually and fax it in, I don't think anybody's working in that division of the IRS. It is not a critical need. So you, as far as an individual goes or a business goes, getting your federal employer identification number, do file online. And then once you've got all that, you can apply for your licenses and permits. And once you've got your employer identification number, you can open up your business bank account. That was the 10 steps the SBA has for opening up your business and starting a business. Hey, got a question here from Kevin. What can you tell us about a DBA? DBA, doing business as. It's you getting an assumed name for you as a sole proprietor. So Kevin's Plumbing Services. You went out and got an assumed name to put that in there, or whatever your business may be. Now, that files on Schedule C. Gives you no liability protections or anything else out there. Now, I'm not one to talk about liability protections because I'm not an attorney, never wanted to be an attorney, don't charge legal fees. Yes, I say that quite a bit because we want to make sure that, hey, we're protected. We're not lawyers. We're enrolled agents. We know more about taxes than anybody else in the world. So if you need questions about taxes, we can help you. Liability, attorney. But that DBA files on Schedule C. It's not going to change any other way. If you do decide you're going to form into a partnership, either via LLC or Inc. or Kevin, you're partnering up with Casey, Kevin and Casey Plumbing, you now have partnership. You may file partnership papers as well. You could be a limited partnership. You could just be a general partnership. It's a general partnership you can file through your local assumed name department there in your county. But hey, doesn't give you very many options. Now, if you're an LLC, limited liability company, can file either as a Schedule C, sole proprietor, single member owner, or it can file as an S Corp, or you could take on a partner and file a partnership return. So you have various options if you file and become an LLC right up front. Now, I do recommend to a lot of people that, hey, if you're going to get into business and you think you're going to be successful, now, hey, remember back into this SBA thing we were talking about, writing your business plan. Well, that's planning for the future. What is your business going to do in the future? What kind of money are you planning on making? Well, once you've got that plan in place, it helps you to decide what type of entity you want to be. And if you're going into business, you're planning to be successful. You're not planning to lose money. Now, I do have some people who seem to be failures at everything they do, but I think they fail on purpose, that they think it's better to have a tax write-off. So do you think it's better to fail at a business to get the tax write-off or to pay the tax? It's a good question. Now, we don't like paying taxes in any way, shape, or form. But if you were to lose, let's say $10,000, and you're in a 25% tax bracket, guess what? You only saved $2,500. You still lost $7,500. So did it really do you that much good to lose money in a business just to lose money? No, don't enter business unless you plan on being successful. Don't go into business to lose money and get the write-off. Some people enter real estate and get rental homes because they can get larger depreciation write-offs. They're into the real estate portion of business, and they're getting the excess write-offs. When they sell the property, that hopefully they're going to be in a better situation, and then they'll have more tax because the basis of the property's been depleted. But that being the case, they could enter into a 1031 exchange. They could do various other things to mitigate those taxes to save themselves money on their investment and what they're able to do. So there are different investment vehicles. There are different ways of doing this, but I don't tell you to enter a business unless you plan and you have a written plan. Plan to be 100% successful in your business, making money, not losing money, because losing money never benefits you in any way, shape, or form. No matter what you think, no matter what people tell you, your job is to produce income, pay more taxes, or find ways to invest and do other things in taxes that's going to save you money in the long run. Boy, time flies when you're having fun and you're answering questions and you're talking to people that you find ways to help. And that's what we do here at Tax Talk for You. Hey, if you're going to be in the trucking business, hey, call Trucker Tax Tools. Go to truckertaxtools.com. Look at the plans we've got, bookkeeping, taxes for you as truckers and small business owner-operators. Taxationsolutions.net saves people from the IRS and the money that they claim you owe. Even if the IRS is wrong, you've got to fight the IRS to prove that you were right. And sometimes you need somebody on your side. Now, we don't take everybody. Not everybody is going to become a client of Taxation Solutions. We sit down and do an analysis. We'll tell you, will our services benefit you? And here's why. If our services aren't going to be a big enough benefit, we're not going to take you on as a client to take your money. We're going to give you advice on what you need to do. Give us a call if you're in debt with the IRS and the IRS is claiming you owe them money. Call us at 888-930-1016. Again, 888-930-1016. Let us step in front. Let us solve the problem. Hey, every week we're here at Tax Talk for You, bringing you news, bringing you information, helping you to stay abreast of new tax laws, new things that are going on, and help you fight the good fight, to save yourself from paying more in taxes than you need to, from finding ways to reduce your taxes to the lowest amount allowed by law, finding and answering your questions to get you the best solution to whether it's your taxes, tax problems, bookkeeping, you name it, tax planning. We're here to do that. So tune in every Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern time, right here at Tax Talk, the number 4U.com. Again, taxtalk4u.com. Mondays, 10 a.m. on W4CY Radio, W4CY.com. Tune in. Don't miss a show. But above all, have a God-blessed and glorious week. Enjoy the beautiful times that we have, not just in this country, but our God provided such great country. Let us live in here. Let us enjoy it. Let us be happy. God bless you. We'll see you next week, 10 a.m. Monday, right here at taxtalk4u.com, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We'll see you next week.
Are you an individual or business that wants to understand taxes and how they affect you? Are you looking for specific tax advice for self-employed, business owners, and truckers? Are you behind on taxes and your bookkeeping? Are you dealing with the IRS and ready to have some relief? Then you need Tax Talk for You, hosted by tax and trucker expert Barry G. Fowler, EA. Tune in 10 a.m. Eastern Time every Monday right here on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Don't forget to check this and past episodes at taxtalk4u.com. See you next week at W4CY.com.